Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you are getting a chance to watch this training video. This will give you a quick little snapshot of the 2019-2020 4-H Healthy Habits grant and what that program entails. So welcome. Congratulations on receiving this grant for your county. I'm sure it will be an exciting year, and thank you for watching this training video to learn a little bit about maybe how this grant has changed just a little bit from in the past, and to see if you have any questions. So a few things that we will cover in this training today is just an overview of this program, implementation of this grant, budgeting and reporting, communication, incentive items, evaluation, and best practices. So grant overview, just so you are aware, the grant shifted a little bit. It still is very much a nutrition grant. There is not as much physical activity here. Of course, that is still important because hand in hand is physical activity and nutrition. But just know that it has shifted from being a holistic nutrition program to focus specifically on food access, cooking skills, and basic nutrition behaviors with a piece of budgeting there. So just be aware of that. So programs should support, facilitate, and improve youth and families with living healthier lives. And if you don't know, this is funded by National 4-H Council that receives funds from Walmart Foundation. This grant also provides an opportunity for families to learn with their kids through, one required activity like cooking at home, shopping for food, visiting farmers markets, picking produce at a local garden, or community program events. So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. So you're aware of some numbers here. Here's the map of our counties that are delivering this program this year. We're kind of all on the border lines of Tennessee, just about. So our reach is 4,250 youth. They are the ones receiving the 8 hours of programming. And then there are 6,800 family members reached. So that's 1.6 family members per youth reach. That's how that number is calculated. And then 100 teen ambassadors. So they will receive training, but they are going to also be the ones that are helping you deliver the programming and helping teach the kids and that kind of thing. So just a couple of stats to throw out at you. This is from the 2017 Youth Risk Behavior Survey. So this time next year, we'll have the 2019 data, and we'll see where we kind of stand. But 26% of youth drink at least one soft drink per day. Of those 26%, 10.7% drink 3 or more soft drinks per day, which is a heck of a lot. 10% of youth that do not eat vegetables, and then 30.2% do not drink milk. And I know that I have said this before, but this statistic really isn't surprising that it has increased over the years as, almond milk, cashew milk, coconut milk, and those types of things have become more popular. 44.4% of youth are on the computer, play video games for 4 or more hours per day. And then 74.4% of youth are not physically active for at least 60 minutes per day. So we can tell they lack proper exercise for sure. 45.4% of youth consume fruit less than 1 time per day. 45.9% of youth consume vegetables less than 1 time per day. 38.4% of youth are considered overweight or obese in Tennessee. And then the nationwide statistic is 20.6%. So unless it has changed very recently, Tennessee still ranks first in the nation for youth obesity. So that's definitely not the first place that we want to be proud of. And so, hopefully through healthy living programs and grants like these, we can start to make an impact that is positive. So implementation of this grant. So this grant period began September 1 of this year, 2019, and it goes through August 31st of 2020. This is face-to-face instruction, so it cannot be through a video or Zoom or PowerPoint or just handing out flyers. It does have to be face-to-face contact. You need to use approved curriculum, which is what you wrote in your grant proposal, and we will just quickly go through that list that is approved. If you have a reason that you need to change or just curious what their other options are, serve 4-H aged youth with 8 hours of high quality direct instructional programming, and then utilize 3 teens for every 100 youth you serve. And so those teens should receive 10 hours of training. So just be aware of that. Training them on leadership materials and those kinds of things, and I'll show you that curriculum as well. But also helping them prepare for the lessons that they're going to teach the 4-Hers. And then reaching that 1.6 family member for every youth served. If you're curious what your numbers are, minus the youth reach, just let me know, just so we can be clear about that. So the nutrition and cooking focused curriculum options are listed on the screen. I won't read through them all. I will say the CHIF curriculum is free online, like in PDFs, and you can print and make that in a notebook yourself. I know if you buy it on 4-H Mall, it's rather expensive, but just know that and be aware. I'm pretty sure Kids in the Kitchen is now called Adventures in the Kitchen, so just kind of know that as well. Leadership building curriculum, Y4H or chat. So other things just to take note of as you do flyers or post things on social media, or have incentive items made, whatever that is, just please make sure that you use the Walmart Foundation logo and the wording that funding provided by. So the Walmart Foundation wants to make sure it's clear that they're giving the money, but they're not the ones doing the actual programming. Make sure you refer to the program as 4-H Healthy Habits. We just want to make sure that we are concise and consistent across the state. That helps build the image of what the program actually is, and will eliminate any confusion that there might be. Complete required post surveys from youth participants and team leaders. Submit interim and final report on or before due date. Submit at least 2 impact stories with photos, and if you want to be creative, you can do this as a video instead, or a PowerPoint or whatever that is. Doesn't just have to be a paragraph with some photos. And then submit monthly budget sheets with your receipts. So, talking about budgeting and reporting, I'm going to explain that into further detail to hopefully make sure you have no questions. So budgeting this year, surprise, we were able to up it to $8 per youth served. In the past, it was $6, but we had a little bit of a surplus, so $8 per youth served is what you will receive this year. So I did already send you your grant application, so you had a copy, but if you wouldn't mind, when you get a chance, please look at what you had allocated for supplies and travel and go ahead and adjust that according to this $2 extra per youth. If you don't have a 4-H procurement card, I suggest that you apply for one. It is the easiest way to pay for things and not worry about using FCS funds. You cannot use county Quicken money, and then you also don't have to worry about being out of money of your own pocket and waiting for a reimbursement. That's perfectly fine if you want to go that route, but I just know if we are putting things on credit cards and trying to pay those off on time, we definitely don't want to wait on the university to reimburse us for that. So I highly suggest getting a 4-H procurement card if you don't have one. If you have questions about how to get one, please just let me know, and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. Any single item that you buy that costs $100 or more, so this is one item by itself. It's not if you're buying a bunch of stuff that costs $100, just on one thing. Please, email me first. It's better to email rather than call, just so we have it in writing. So if I, totally forget and I'm like, hey, why did you buy that? You can say, well, I have this email and you said it was okay. So just a suggestion there, make sure you email it to me. When you want approval for things like that, please give me just a quick hey, this is what I plan to use this for. Send me a link or a picture with the price of it and that kind of thing. So that kind of helps me, quickly approve or deny or ask for a further explanation. So All funds must be spent by June 30th of 2020, so please note that funding ends June 30th, but the actual programming ends August 31st. So if you do not reach all of your kids by June 30th and you still have programming going on in July and August of 2020, just kind of make plans of how you are going to buy any food that you need before those 2 months. So you may have to get creative and do things that you can put in the freezer and pull out and that sort of thing. So just keep this in mind moving forward and as you're making a plan for this year. So just to quickly, what can I spend my money on if you haven't had this grant, or maybe it's been a while since you've had it, or if you just need a quick refresher from last year. So of course, healthy foods. We're not buying little Davy cakes and snacks and chips and Cokes and those kinds of things unless it is required in the curriculum to teach it. That's fine. I get it if you're teaching a lesson, but we're not going to, buy junk food while we're trying to teach a healthy nutrition program. That just doesn't make sense. So kitchen items, so if you need a blender or a griddle or a mixing bowls or whatever to help you teach your lesson, that's perfectly fine, no big deal. I think for the most part none of those should cost more than $100 each, so you shouldn't need approval. But if you're just kind of I know this is more pricey and I'd feel more comfortable if I got approval first, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to be upset that you asked first. Anything that you need to teach the lesson, so as you're going through the curriculum and it says buy this, this, and this, that's perfectly fine. Also things that help you stay organized with your stuff, whether you don't have space in your office kitchen or as you're doing the curriculum or folders or whatever. If you need to buy some totes or something else that you use to stay organized, I'm totally fine with that. Typical office supplies, so pens, paper, sticky notes, markers, etc. I will go ahead and say we typically do not approve ink purchases for your big printers in your offices. Like the small one on your desk is fine. If you have a special situation, please just email me and we'll kind of work through it. And then incentive items, and we'll go a little bit more into detail about those just to give you an idea of kind of what I mean by that. So stay on track with spending. So let's try to, be good stewards of money. Let's not try to, hoard it and don't buy things throughout the year and then blow, all of your money at the very end of the grant period. That kind of throws up red flags to National Council, to UT, to me, to anybody that's looking at the budget. So the easiest way to kind of say that you're staying on track is follow how far we are in the grant period. So the example here listed on the screen, if you're serving 100 youth, your budget would be $800, right? Because you get $8 per youth served. So by the end of December, which is the first quarter, you should have spent around $200. I'm not going to say it's be 200 exact, but a little bit over or under is fine. By the end of April is the second quarter, so spending $400 is 50%. So just know that this is assuming that you are delivering the programming to all of the youth you are serving, on this same scale. And what I mean by that is if you had, planned to deliver this program for a fall semester or whatever, a few weeks in the fall or spring or whatever, then your spending is going to be a little bit different because if you're doing a program that goes from October through November, for example, obviously by the end of November, if you've reached all of your kids, you'll be done spending your money. So that's totally fine. But this example is just saying if you were doing, serving the program to the kids from September to August, that is kind of the timeline of how you would spend your money. So budget tracking sheet, if you've had a grant with me, then this is nothing new. This is just to help keep you and me on the same page, making sure we both know how much is being spent, how much is left to spend. We're good stewards of money, that kind of thing. So this is due at the end of every month. So honestly, it's just the last day of every month. If you have spent $0 for the month, instead of me thinking, well, maybe they just didn't put anything in, actually go in and write $0 under that month that you did not spend any money. So this year, instead of using an Excel sheet where, you email it to me, I email it back to you, you save it on your computer, etc., we're just going to use Google Sheets, which is the same thing, except it just automatically updates online. I can always see it when I click on the link, and same for you. And we both aren't waiting on each other to email back and forth, or you may have a more updated version than I do. And so then at the end of every month, once you have entered all of your stuff in, I can automatically go and check and see if you've done it. I'll go through and I'll write my initials in the cell beside where you have entered stuff, just saying, okay, yep, this looks good, this is what's in Iris, or this is what's on your receipt, etc. So in addition to that, I do still need a copy of your receipts that correlate with the month's spending. So a PDF is fine. So please know you do not have to mail me a hard copy. Save paper, save stamps. You can just email it to me. You can start a Google folder and we can just keep them in there. That's perfectly fine. If you spent your personal money, submit a copy of your T44 and receipt, or if you lost your receipt, or if you went to a farmer's market and had to use a T4, that's fine too. If you purchased with an invoice, to include a copy of the invoice. And I will say here as well, I was talking about how to spend money earlier. If you get an invoice and want me to have it paid, that's perfectly fine. Just have the invoice say University of Tennessee, and then I can get it paid on my end. And all you need to do is email me the invoice, and then you should be good to go. So I did the same thing for Health Rocks this year, so please ignore that it says Health Rocks, but this is the exact same for you all. And keep in mind that yours is $8 served, so it's a little bit different here, but this is what the balance sheet looks like. So if you look on the very bottom here, there's 3 tabs. There's a balance sheet, expenses for supplies, and expenses for travel sheet. So this just gives you a quick little snapshot of like, hey, this is where I am. This is how much money I started with. This is how much I've spent, what my remaining balance is, and then a quick percentage. So you can know that, okay, here it is, it's the end of December, and, I'm, whatever, I've spent 30%, so I'm doing pretty good. So that kind of thing. So this is what it will look like. Everyone will have their own sheet, so you'll have a link sent to you. I've had a student in the office help go through and create all of these for you all. So shortly, maybe next week, this week, I will get those links sent to you, and you can go ahead and start entering in your expenses. So on this second tab, this is the supplies tab. This was just an example on here, but this is just essentially keeping a running balance in all of your charges. So, I try to color code, green or red, if you've got green is income, red is expenses, and that kind of thing. Give you a transaction name, so the store that you got it at, what the amount was, what your remaining balance is, and then a quick explanation. If you said whatever, this is for, whatever, lesson 2 in the CHIF curriculum. And then this is the travel column, or the travel tab. So it's the same thing essentially. So you've got your balance to start with, and you would have, your transaction amount for travel. And I understand this is usually not exactly like this, because if you submit travel at the end of the month, then it's just one chunk, but that's perfectly fine. You can just, put in here the places that you went. So hopefully this is not a burden, and hopefully this is a little bit more helpful and easier, on both of us, so that we can continuously work off the same sheet rather than having to email back and forth and that kind of thing. So some important dates just for you to go ahead and maybe plug into your calendar. I will send you a PDF, which is essentially just this though, so you can go ahead and do whatever you do to keep things on track. But budget sheets is just the last day of every month, starting from September to June. I understand it is the 25th of September, so you may have not spent anything. A few of you may, which is perfectly fine, because the grant period did start September 1st. Evaluations, so all the evaluations that you receive from your youth and teens are due September the 8th of 2020. Trainings release the 26th, and complete this training by October 18th, so that gives you a little less than a month hopefully it will be very short, and that won't be a problem to do. And then reports, so I have 3 little categories over here. So update reports, that's going to be very short and simple. I want to know how many youth you have served with less than 8 hours of programming, and then how many of youth you have served with more than 8 hours of programming. This just gives me a quick, like, okay, hey, I know we're on track, or like, oh no, I need to like try to go find some more kids to reach. So it just helps keep us on track as a state throughout the year. And it really will not take you but just a couple minutes, as long as you are keeping up with how many kids you have reached and the hours they have been served. And then the midterm report will be a little bit more in detail, at least from my experience in the past, and that will be due January the 10th. And then the final report is the same day that the evaluations are due, which is September 8th of 2020. So I have got typically here in bright bold red, and this is because this is what the questions were typically asked on midterm and final before the grant changed a little bit. So this is a little bit new this year, with having 8 hours of programming for the youth, having some actual family reach, and then as well as the teen leaders requiring 10 hours. So I don't know if the questions have changed on the reports. I'm just sharing this information to hopefully help you know this is typically what's asked or has been in the past. I don't anticipate really these questions going away. Things may be added, words may be changed, that kind of thing. But as soon as I get an idea of what will be on the reports, as soon as I have a copy, I will be sure to share with you all of that information. So usually it's going to ask the number of participants who've received the 8 hours, race, ethnicity of the participants, the grade, the number of teens involved, race and ethnicity of the teens, number of family members, number of partnerships, and then like a narrative section. So impact story, challenges, successes, best practices, that kind of thing. So communication, I will send you out a Google Sheet it's basically a sign-up sheet, and it will have 3 different dates for each month, and then times ranging from 9 a.m. until about 4:30 p.m., and that is in Eastern time. So please make sure as you're signing up that you are aware, if you're in the central region, that will be actually an hour sooner than listed. Once it is confirmed on that sheet, I will highlight it in yellow, and then I will send you a calendar invite. So please know I will send a calendar invite for the official time that is selected, just making sure that nothing else was added to my calendar. But this is just every 3 months, and honestly, it can take 5 minutes. I do schedule it in 15-minute increments. If you need more, that's perfectly fine. But this will be in December, March, and June. This is just making sure that you are good, that I'm good. Nobody has any questions. Everybody's on the same page. We're feeling good about it. We're going to, accomplish our goals, that kind of thing. So just know it's nothing super serious. It's not a group call. It's just me and you, and I'll call your office and that kind of thing. But with that being said, please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you need to discuss the grant or have questions or need help. I'm not saying that you can only talk to me during that time that we've signed up to talk to each other. Just know that I'm here to help you be successful. You are, the one doing all the work and boots on the ground and making this, be so great in Tennessee. So please know anything that you need from me, I'm happy to help, and help you be successful. I am pretty quick to return emails as long as I'm not traveling. I do always try to make sure I've got my automatic reply on if I am away from my desk or on leave, that kind of thing, just so you know automatically, like, okay, she's not going to respond right away. And I do want to say, if you anticipate not reaching your youth before next summer, please let me know as soon as you do so we can make a game plan. If I need to come to your county and help you, find kids or go deliver the program, I will by all means. But we can do something about it if we find out in December we're not going to reach the kids, but it's a little bit hard if you tell me September 1 when the grant period is over and we've not reached our youth reach. So incentive items, so you do need to get these approved by me first. If you go through 4Imprint, most of the time they will say that they have to get something signed by the Walmart Foundation or National Council. Hopefully it will not be too big of an issue because we had things signed last year, but please be aware that you may need to plan in advance before you order stuff if it's going to require people to sign stuff, because if it has to go to a bunch of different people's desks and get signatures, it can get a little bit of a long process. And I will need the item that you're planning to buy. So if you're planning to buy water bottles or whatever, what's that total cost going to be? How many are you trying to purchase? And give me what the artwork looks like. And I can, giving me the artwork so I know it looks good, well, that's covering our bases, and it's also helping the process go faster. So you can see that the Walmart Foundation is the logo that we have to use. It's not just the Walmart logo that you see on the front of the store. So you've got the long one here that's closer to the top, and the one that's a little bit more of a square. The Walmart Foundation does want it to be clear that its program is funded by Walmart Foundation, so they want it to be clear that they're giving the money, but they're not actually putting the program on themselves. So it will need to say the wording program funded by, and then you can have the Walmart Foundation logo, whatever, beside that verbiage. But please just know that. If you have a question, please let me know, and I would be happy to help you with that artwork. So just be mindful of the amount of funds you spend on incentive items. We don't want to, once again, be bad stewards of money and just be blowing, money on all kinds of giveaways and that kind of thing. I would rather kids have more opportunities to taste, healthy foods and things that they, don't get the opportunity to try or taste at home and that kind of thing. So if you have questions about incentives, please just reach out. We'll brainstorm some ideas and I'll help you walk through that process. So evaluation, please do your best to receive 100% of the surveys from participants. In years past, National Council said you can get 50% of your surveys. I don't think that's the case anymore. We need to strive for 100%. I understand that sometimes maybe when you give the survey, if you're doing it in a classroom setting, maybe all the kids aren't there that day, and that's fine. But just do the best you can. If you think this is going to be a struggle for you, just reach out and let's talk through it and try to figure this out. Please know that there is a youth and a teen survey. So the teen survey is for the teens who have actually helped with the program. It doesn't mean if you are delivering the program to a 9th grader, who's receiving the 8 hours like a youth, that they get the teen survey because their age is a teen. It means that the teen survey is the one for the ambassadors who have helped with the program. So if you have questions about that or if that's confusing, just let me know. It says on the top of the survey, youth, teen, that kind of thing. There's no parental signatures required, so you can print the paper out, let the kids take the survey, take it up, that's it, it's all that's done. Or they can get on the computer and do it, or if you have access to iPads or computers, if they have Google Chromes or whatever the case may be, you can save paper and time for entering those surveys. And then just go ahead and know this, build in time at your last program to do these surveys. Once I receive all of the actual instructions and the links from National Council, I will share that with you. But usually the options are printing the paper surveys out, and then you or someone in your office going through and entering in that information on the direct survey link. If you really have an issue with that and you're very short-staffed, you can send them my way and I can have students doing it, but please know I need those surveys as soon as possible because our student schedule sometimes changes and I don't want to have 4,000 surveys on the last day when they're due. Or the best option and the most environmentally friendly is just to have them do it on the computer. If you have internet access and electronics, it is, I think, mobile friendly. So if they're allowed to have phones at school and you can tell them to pull it out, that would be great as well. So once again, I'll share that information as soon as I receive it. So just a few best practices just to help you on your way. So think about your goal, think about what your youth goal, your family goal, and your teen ambassador goals are. Write them out, figure out what the steps are you need to get there, and then use this as a checklist. If you need to put it up by your computer every day, if you need to put things in your calendar to make sure you've done them by a certain deadline, by all means do it. Whatever helps you be successful. Photos, please take lots of photos of the activities that are going on, so you can send those in for reports, use them on your social media. And then make sure you have a photo release. I do want to go ahead and say Walmart Foundation has a photo release form, and I'll share that with you as well. But please know that if you don't have this signed, go ahead and send them my way, because we can still use those photos for 4-H, and in posters or those kinds of things that I use. And that's assuming you have the F600 with the UT photo release. But the Walmart Foundation photo release is for me to actually send the photo to the National Council, and then they can share it with Walmart. So I understand if it's hard to get that form back, but just know that that is the additional form for Walmart Foundation. Keep a receipt file, so you can start a file for receipts right from the start. You can do both or one or the other, a digital file and a paper file. I'm perfectly fine with either, because I just need a PDF of those. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, if you wanted to make a Google folder on your Google Drive or on SharePoint, whichever, and just keep a folder for each month with the receipts, that sounds amazing to me. We can both access it, being environmentally friendly, less emails, that kind of thing. So, but if you want to email, that's perfectly fine too. This is just keeping all the receipts in one location, and that way it's easy to locate at the end of the month. Organization, so going back to your goals, make you a game plan so you know that you're ready to go from the beginning of how you're going to accomplish all of these grant requirements. Put these dates in for the reports and budget sheets on your calendar. Be prepared and be early. It makes it hard on everyone, when we're late on things. So we definitely don't want to leave a bad taste in National Council's mouth because we're late on things, and that can also result in a payment reduction for us. And then, if we have actually already spent that money, then we're a little bit of a pickle. So please just be prepared for all of these things that are due on the dates, and let me know if I can help you in any way. Work with schools, so set up a partnership with the schools if you haven't already. So think about working with teachers in health and wellness, PE, or even the guidance counselor. Training, so take the time to train your teens and volunteers. So of course 10 hours is required of this grant to train your teens, so that is a requirement. But just know the teens do need training before they go in and teach the youth. And if you have adults or teachers who may be helping teach, just take the time to train them. Don't assume that they know the material. Make sure you walk them through it, and they always know that your door's open for help. Feel free to reach out to other counties. You can go back through and look at the county list at the beginning of this video, or if you need, just to email me and ask me the agents that are doing it, that's fine. I don't think anybody's too afraid to share what they're doing and how they're being successful. So just know that that's an option. Make sure your lessons are hands-on. Of course, the youth really learn and get engaged when they're doing something, and I think, with nutrition kinds of things and being able to do things with cooking and that kind of thing, really provides opportunity for being hands-on. Flyers, so display healthy habits materials on school bulletin boards to reinforce your message. You could do it monthly, or whatever maybe the option is that the school would allow you. If you don't, go to schools, maybe a community, center or whatever, wherever you may deliver that program. And then incentives, so use incentives for participation. If you wanted to do very small things at the end of each lesson, things like 4-H stickers, pencils, bracelets, and then I do have water bottles here. You can get very cheap water bottles, but don't think like, big nice water bottles. I would save one big item for the end of the grant period, like you've done all 8 hours and completed the survey, kind of thing, for their bigger item. So you can use social media for various things. So you can boost participation, you can engage different audiences, and supplement programs that you already have going on. You can post current educational programs, things that are coming up, flyers, any contests you have going on, related news articles, educational resources, etc. And then marketing best practices, so brag about yourself and all the things that you have going on through your program. newsletters. So kind of going back to the school bulletin board, but see if maybe you could do a newsletter each month, or include something about this program in a newsletter that goes out to parents of the kids in the school, that kind of thing. Participants, so let participants do the selling. So use quotes to demonstrate the great things that are happening. And you could collect quotes. So maybe at the end of each lesson, have a bucket that they drop something in, or a ticket out the door, and they write, this is what I loved about today, or maybe this is what I wish I could learn. And you can let them write that in. Use those quotes for, your quarterly reports, or midterm and final reports, rather. Using for posting on social media, for your impact statements, that kind of thing. So that helps you not have to think, well, I think this person said this, and it's already in writing, and you've got it ready to go. And then participate in fairs and other booth type of events that could promote this grant initiative. This would be a great time for teens to be involved. And maybe they can make something simple, like if you did learn something about a healthy parfait, they could have the recipe available, have a sample, but you have other information on the grant. So I went through this very, very fast. So hopefully this cuts down on time that you have to give of your day as you're watching this. But if you have any questions, or I didn't explain anything well enough, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to help you be successful, I promise. My phone number, this is my direct line to my office, and then my email as well. I also have on the screen in red because I wanted to remind myself. Please send me your shirt sizes through that link that I sent out in an email, I think this past Monday, by this Friday the 27th at noon. And this is a shirt for you, and then 2 helpers is what I'm calling them. So whether that's 2 staff or 2 teens or whatever. I will say, if you decide that you would like, a couple more for other people that are helping, just let me know, and then we can just charge the amount for the couple extra to your, your out of your grant fund. So they really, I don't think will end up being that expensive, as many that we should be able to order, maybe $10. But if you just have a question or want that option, just know that that is available. So have a great rest of the day.